Welcome to The Secret Cocktail. I am your pusher, Victoria Randall. Today's topic: what does your location need? Okay, what does your location need? All the time, many calls. How many square feet do I need? What all do I need to have in the building? And I am here to give you the details on what exactly you need. We are COVID right now, so I'm back to my old school, my old school office days. No YouTube in the studio at this point in time, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and dive into the topic. Before I go any further, I want to say this is my website here that you can see, and we get a lot of questions about state specific requirements. So I want to let you guys know that there is now a tab on our website right here that says state specific requirements, and you can just click that tab. And when you click it, it's going to take you to every state. Okay, every state, and you can learn what your state specific requirements are right there. So whether you click, like for instance, if you're in Alabama, whether you click to learn about who is the regulatory body over CNA schools in Alabama, you can click here to go to the Secretary of State to go ahead and get your licensing to have a business. Or if you want to actually learn, you don't feel like reading all, 20 or 75 pages, however many pages it is, you can always click on the Start a CNA School mini course. And so we have a mini course for every state, so you can get the specifics to your state. So the information I'm going to give you is very generalized, I will admit, but we consult to start CNA schools in all 50 states. And so far, what I'm seeing and what I'm reading in regulations are pretty much the same. So again, we're going to talk about what your location needs for your CNA school. So number one, I want to start by saying your location does not have to have or meet a minimum requirement of a certain amount of square footage. Okay, that is a huge misconception. You don't have to have 800 square feet. You don't have to have 2,000 square feet. The square footage, honestly, doesn't even matter. All that matters is however many students you plan on having, that your space can actually accommodate those students. So if you say that you're going to plan on having, 15 students, then your space needs to accommodate 15. Not be so small that you can only fit 10 or maybe 5 and you're trying to, cram them in there like sardines. No, you have to have adequate space. So most states say that the space in between the desks should be at least 3 feet apart, just to give you a feel for. Also, please know that each state has a maximum student to instructor ratio. So that's going to definitely change things a lot, right? So if your state has a ratio of 10 students to 1, then your classroom only needs to be able to facilitate that. For instance, Arkansas has 24 to 1. And to be honest, some states don't even have a ratio for classroom, but most majority do. So while you are in the process of getting your CNA school location prepared, it's really important for you to understand what is your student to instructor ratio. Now, also the instructor to student ratio may also change in the lab. So when you take them to the mock patient room and you start doing skills, that ratio may change also depending on your state. So, and the ratio of students to beds may even change depending on your state. So that lab, I've worked in some states where the lab has to have, and I think Illinois was one of them, you have to have maybe 3 students to 1 bed, or it might have been 5 students to 1 bed. I can't remember now. I got so many states in my head sometimes. But know that may be something that you need to look into for your state. So that's why I'm here. That's why you have me. Again, if you are in this process, something small like that, you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss, because if you get a lab that is too small and you can't fit, maybe you're going to have 20 students. And so what's that? I mean, you got to have 7 beds. You want to make sure that you don't miss something like that. So please make sure that you're consulting someone like The Secret Cocktail, your pusher, to help you through this process. There's so many things that you wouldn't even know that you need to be conscious of. All right, so we talked about square footage. It doesn't really matter the amount of square footage. All that matters is the student to instructor ratio, and if you're going to have enough space to accommodate those students. Next on the list is you need to have a separate room for classroom and lab. Okay. And you could have one huge room, and that's fine too, as long as you can kind of semi-divide it off. They don't have to be two separate rooms, but divide them off is very helpful. And furthermore, you'll want a space for receptionists to come in. So when people come in, they want to have a receptionist area. You don't want them to just walk into your school and walk directly into the classroom, right? That doesn't make sense. So please make sure that you are being conscious of looking at your space, ensuring that there is going to be a reception area, right? And that after that, there will be a classroom, there will be a lab, and then you really want to have an office because you need a place to put all of your student records. You don't want to leave student records up at the front desk in that area. That's not safe. So you want to have them in most states, by the way, you have to have them in a locked room. Okay. Not all, but in most. So again, you really need to know your regulations. All right. Next on the list is what all these spaces need to have. So there's really only one regulation in particular, and that is the lab. And the lab must have a sink, and the sink must have running water that runs hot and cold. So I have my screen up here because I want to show you a lot of people are like, Victoria, I love this space, but it doesn't have a sink. And it's going to cost me buku cash to get a sink and plumbing and all this put in there. And, I don't want to lose the space over that. Well, guess what? I have a solution for you, and it is called the portable sink. So if you see here, there are multiple portable sinks. Some of you probably didn't even know that this exists, but it does, and you can use them. I have yet to find a state that says that you cannot use a portable sink. So here's an example of one of the portable sinks. And you see here is the dirty water, this is the fresh water, and then over here is a little heater so that when you turn on the hot water, it will actually heat up and the students will be able to wash their hands with hot water. Now that is a federal requirement. The federal government says you must have hot running water in your facility. So be sure that if you do invest in a portable sink, that it does have the hot water mechanism to it, and portable sinks are usable. Okay. The last thing we want to do is rent someone's space, pay all kinds of money for plumbing, and then maybe be out of there 5 or 6 years later because we've grown and expanded and we're on to new, bigger and better things. So if you don't have to pay for that, don't. Sometimes you can negotiate that into your contract. That's for another video though, how to negotiate your lease. So just be conscious of that. Sometimes you can negotiate those types of things in. All right. Next, I wanted to talk about, yes, here we go. I want to talk about a storefront location versus a building suite location. So right here, I just kind of Googled some images of storefronts, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each. So for your storefronts, yeah, it's great to be a storefront because, as you see, people just walk by. They can see the big name of your company on the outside. Maybe they're walking, maybe it's in a plaza. They're walking around to go to other places, but because they walk past your location, bam, they see you there and they know that you're there. So storefronts are a very popular choice for people who are starting CNA schools. Almost everyone always wants a storefront. The con to that could potentially be that you'll have people in and out that have nothing to do with your business. And I was a storefront, so I had that a lot. People coming in trying to sell me things. I don't have time for that. I'm teaching, or my receptionist is trying to, take care of a student who's trying to enroll, and here this person comes in trying to sell us insurance or a newspaper or whatever. People coming in wanting to use the restroom. So when you have a storefront, that's some of the cons you have to be conscious of, is that people will be coming in and out for random things that have nothing to even do with you. But again, the pro is that it's right there. People can walk past and see it. And it's easier to kind of become a pillar in that community when you're a storefront. The next option is actually a suite, an office building. So here we have a suite office building. The pros to this is that there is usually buku parking. Okay, buku parking. And I forgot to say that for storefronts, depending on where your storefront is, sometimes you got to share that space with other people, and the parking is not very easy. For office spaces, for suites, usually the parking lots are huge. And so your students normally won't have an issue with parking. And Believe it or not, that's something the state actually looks at when they're giving you approval, whether or not you have adequate space. The other thing to think about, the pro with this is that, again, people won't be coming in and out. You have a private area, it's quiet. There's not a lot of, mumbo jumbo going on. Your students can focus on the topic at hand that you're teaching, and you don't have to worry about people coming in and out or being loud from the outdoors, or you're hearing cars and things like that. So this could be very beneficial. Now, of course, the con is people don't know what's inside that building when they go past, okay? They have no idea. And so, and even some suites don't have some type of signage outside. Now, if your suite, the building space has a outdoor signage, that's huge. And that's just as great as having a storefront, because now you can put a big sign outside that says, I'm here. But if you go to an office space that doesn't have that, it would be a little harder for you. People won't necessarily know you're there at first. But I want to say that marketing is key. And so it does not matter if you are storefront, honestly, versus inside of a suite. If your marketing game is on point, then they're going to find you regardless. So don't get too caught up if you have an office space, or you really see an office space that you really like and you want to go in there, but you're afraid that people won't find you. They're going to find you. If people becoming a CNA is a specific thing to look for. So people looking to become a CNA, they're going to go to your location. They're going to Google you. Everyone goes to the internet first for whatever it is that they want normally. So if they haven't drove around and seen a CNA school and know that it's there or a pillar in the community, they're going to go to Google. And when they find you, they're just going to get the address and come to you. So it's not like being inside of a suite is a bad thing by any means. As long as your marketing is on point, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted to give you guys some insight on the location, whether you're storefront or if you're inside of an office suite, inside that location, how much room you have to have in there. All right. Again, it doesn't really matter how many students. I'm sorry, square footage doesn't matter. What really matters is how many students, and the instructor to student ratio, or the bed and the lab to student ratio. Those are the things that are going to really determine how much space that you truly, truly need. So when you guys book a call with me and you ask me, how many square feet do I need? I don't have an answer for you. It's all about whatever you become approved for. So even if you say, even if the state says you have a 24-to-1 ratio, but your space is only big enough for 10, then you're only going to be able to have 10 students. And that's okay. We have to start somewhere, but just know that if your space is a certain size, that you may not be able to hit your max amount of students that you would want. So really think about and consider that. I'm not here to sway anybody on what to do or how to run their business. I'm here to give you information and allow you to utilize that information to make the best decision that you can for your business. So I hope that this information was very, very helpful. There's not much else I would really say about the location, other than the fact that, when you do find a location, like I said, the lease negotiation, that's for another video. That's a long topic. Learning about the restrooms, if you have a shared restroom, if it's a restroom inside. The only other thing else would be office space or storage space, things like that. So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you at my next video every Monday, Motivational Mondays.